INEOS's planned restructuring of Man United football operations continues as they seek to identify personnel to fill the new football structure. We have an update of the names that are popping up to fill up some of these structures that INEOS is trying to put together within the club currently. Also, we have some updates on the injury situation and some potential returnees ahead of the game against Everton on Saturday. This is United Today. We are going for a break. When we come back, I'll break down all the issues for you here on United Today. Thanks very much for joining us. If this is your first time joining us on United Today, please remember to hit the subscribe button and hit the notification bell as we provide you updates from around the club every single day here on United Today. So now, what is happening? The Inos Revolution of Man United operations have already started. And it has started at the very, very top. Now, if you remember, when Sir Jim Ratcliffe met the media and granted all the interview, and he was asked about Erik ten Hag and his future at the club, he made mention of something very important where he talked about the environment around the club and how things haven't been so great or smooth around the club. I mean, in terms of the environment. He said the environment has been poor. As a result of that, a lot of people, or a lot of the coaches who are very good coaches, haven't been able to function properly within the club. So what has INEOS tried to do now? INEOS have decided to restructure the club starting from the very top, and then it will trickle down to the level of the coaches and then the players and every other thing. Now, as a result of that, INEOS decided to hire Omar Barada from Manchester City to come into the fold to become the CEO of the club. What Sir Jim Ratcliffe has said is that he wants to get the best in class or people at the very highest level of their field to be able to occupy some of these positions to make the decisions. Now, beyond Omar Barada, he went on to hire, or he's in the process of hiring Dan Ashworth to occupy the position of sporting director within the club. Now, as we all know, Newcastle United and Manchester United are in talks to see how best they can find a resolution with regards to how to get Dan Ashworth to work with the club as quickly as possible. Now, within this structure, INEOS is trying to create a new position in there called the Director of Recruitment, somebody to take charge of the recruitment process within the club. And a lot of names came up. Paul Mitchell, formerly of Monaco, Julian Ward, formerly of Liverpool. All of these names came up. I mean, for people who are going to, occupy this position, but it looked as if these people were clearly not interested in the definition of the role that is going to be given to them within the structure of work that they were going to do. Now, one name that has popped up is Dougie Freedman. Dougie Freedman is currently the sporting director at Crystal Palace. Now, Miguel Delaney of the Independent newspaper and Ed Aarons of The Guardian all are reporting that it is likely that United will be making an approach to Crystal Palace this week in search of the services of Dougie Freedman. Now, if you don't know Dougie Freedman, he's been working with Crystal Palace since 2017, a very highly respected sporting director within the field. Now, players like Eberechi Eze, Michael Olise, Magehi, all these are players that were brought into Crystal Palace by Dougie Freedman. He's really, really respected within the industry. Is he the best in class? Yes, well, a lot of people seem to think that he's part of the people, or he's currently one of the people within the industry who are very, very much on top of their game in terms of talent identification, which obviously has become a very huge issue for Manchester United over the last couple of years. Over the last 11 years, recruitment within the club hasn't been great. So as a result of that, INEOS is trying to restructure and to get the best in class to be able to occupy these top positions so that they can make the right decisions in terms of which player comes in, which player goes out of the club, and all of that. Now, one interesting thing about Dougie Freedman is that Crystal Palace are not prepared to stand in his way. they are willing to allow Dougie Freedman to leave and start work immediately. There wouldn't be any issues of gardening leave and any complicated issues around him, as we've seen with Dan Ashworth and Omar Barada. Now, Omar Barada is having a gardening leave and won't be available until the summer or somewhere within the summer, so he will not be able to work actively for the club. As for Dan Ashworth, the discussion is still ongoing with Newcastle United, so it's not too clear whether he'll be available, to work with the club currently. So a lot of discussion. So Dougie Freedman can come in there and then commence work immediately. As we all know, work will continue regardless of who is director of football. The operations will continue in that regard. Now, while this news was, floating, or while this news kept coming, James Dakar of the Telegraph also came out with a very interesting report that INEOS is not just looking for a technical director, they are also looking for a performance director in addition to the technical director. Now, for the technical director, one name that has been earmarked for that position is Jason Wilcox. Now, Jason Wilcox is the former academy director at Manchester City and is now the technical director or the football sporting director at Southampton. He's been earmarked as one name to be able to, take hold of that position currently. And it is thought that the technical director will be a central figure in the recruitment and will be working directly with Dan Ashworth. However, when we talk about the performance director, they will be having a broader remit in terms of their role, and they'll be looking at issues such as strength and conditioning, sports science, medical, nutrition, and everything that has to do with the physical and the psychological provision that they can provide to the players within the club at all levels within the club. So these are some of the things that INEOS is looking at, in terms of trying to help United deal with, in terms of the structure, building at the top and all of that. While all of this is going on, Erik ten Hag's position or news regarding Erik ten Hag's position that won't go away. Now, Rob Dawson of ESPN also came out with a report earlier, some few hours ago, regarding Erik ten Hag. His position, as we all know, hasn't been guaranteed. As a result of that, we've had a lot of coaches trying to, lobby through their agents to contact United and all of that. But as it stands, INEOS is not focused on the coach. They are focused on structuring the club in terms of its football operations. After the CEO and every other person, such as the director of football, the recruitment director, have all been put in place, then a decision can be made on the coach, because, as Sir Jim Ratcliffe said, a style of play for the club needs to be determined before any other thing can continue. In terms of which coach is going to implement that. Will it be Erik ten Hag or will it be any other different coach? Well, we'll find out more of that as the days go by. So INEOS's planned restructuring is still ongoing. Dougie Freedman has been identified as one name for the position of director of recruitment. So as things stand, we would have Omar Barada as the CEO, Dan Ashworth as the technical sporting director, Jason Wilcox as technical director, and then probably Dougie Freedman as the recruitment director, and one other person to take over as performance director. So that is the structure that INEOS is trying to put together at the club. So we'll see how all of these pan out and see how all of these things, structure is going to help. If you ask me, it's a step in the right direction, given how things have panned out over the last couple of years within the club and all of that. So that is it. Now, let's switch over to another interesting topic, which is the injuries within the club. Now, as you know, Martinez, Malacia, Mount, Wan-Bissaka, Luke Shaw, Anthony Martial, and Rasmus Hojlund are all injured. A lot of these players haven't been available majority of the time for the club. Someone like Tyrell Malacia hasn't been available at all. He didn't even go for preseason. He's still not fit to play. Luke Shaw will be out for a very long time. Now, a report came out that Marcus Rashford will be out for a very long time, or has gone down injured. Now, and a very credible handle on the X app known as Inside United has come to give an update with regards to Marcus Rashford. Now, it is reported that Marcus Rashford is not injured, contrary to the earlier report that came that he was injured, and that he's training normally and everything is okay with Marcus Rashford, and that he'll be available for selection in a game against Everton over the weekend. Now, it is also believed that Rasmus Hojlund is likely to be fit for the game against Everton over the weekend. Now, Rasmus Hojlund had a muscle injury that kept him out in the game against Manchester City and kept him out in the game against Fulham. As if you remember, Erik ten Hag said he'll be out for 2 to 3 weeks, and it's already 2 weeks. So, well, let's see if Inside United's report is accurate, and we'll see whether Rasmus Hojlund will be back in fold for the game against Everton this weekend, because we need him. We need him fit, back and firing again, because we have no striker in our fold at the moment. Trying and experimenting Marcus Rashford up top hasn't helped. Keep Rashford to his left side, Garnacho on the right, and bring back Rasmus Hojlund. We hope he's fit enough to play in the game against Everton. So that's how we draw down the curtain for today's edition of United Today. Thanks for joining us. Please remember to hit the subscribe button if you've not done that, and hit the notification bell. We'll be back with United and Everton Football Podcast, where we would give you a detailed analysis of all the issues that we discuss here, and look forward to the game against Everton. We are out of here. See you tomorrow. Have a great time.